Hey folks, it's Andy. Time to get ranted up. It's time for Kendo Rant. Let's do this. Andy, thanks for the video. I understand that grading is important. However, how important is Q grading? Especially if you're an adult beginner, which is the case for me. Okay, so this is obviously off the back of the previous episode we did, or it could be one before that, where we talked about the importance of grading. The previous question was, how important is grading? And I actually mentioned that participating in grading is super important for Kendo progression, of course, as it does sort of kind of provide us a super valuable metric really to make sure that you are on the right path, as it were, making sure that you are kind of keeping yourself in check and you are properly practicing Kendo and not something else. In other words, that you are, what you're doing is Kendo. Now, yeah, I'll be honest, what I was talking about was more in reference to sort of Dan grades. But yeah, I mean, I'd say that Q grading is also somewhat important, less so than Dan grading. But I mean, obviously, I think in most countries, it's first Q or EQ that tends to be the first one that's governed by the National Association. So obviously, that's important because that's the first step on the grading ladder anyway. I personally, when I started out, I participated in some of the lower Q gradings, but not that many of them. In fact, the way we did it in our club is that you did a grading and then you were kind of assigned it was like an open grading. You were assigned a Q based on the level that you achieved. And by the time we did that in my dojo, I was already awarded the second Q. So my next one already was first Q. But yeah, I mean, in my dojo now that I teach at, yeah, we do actually run gradings from 7th Q up to 2nd Q, and we use that really as a really good metric to keep everybody sort of kind of in tune really with their progress. It makes for a good kind of marker really as to when they're ready to wear a uniform or the borga, and obviously it gives them practice, most importantly, for when they go to a national grading, so that they're not super nervous, and it being the first time they're in that situation when they're kind of at the real main event, as it were. So yeah, I'd say it's still definitely important and definitely worth participating in. Next one. Hi Andy, quick question. How does one fold Hakamai and hang it up so that the pleats don't go away? I'll make a video about this separately. I think I did one the other week about how to attach the Chichikawa and the Himo to the men and the door. And I think I'll do something very similar with how to fold up your uniform. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Hi Andy, just wondering if it's okay if I can't do the stamp of Fumikomi. And how would I develop how to do it if it's not okay? No, okay. Right, so obviously last time we had a question about, is it okay not to shout, and now we've got a question, is it okay not to stamp? Last week I said it's okay not to shout. It's not okay not to shout, sorry. You have to shout. It's part of what you have to do in Kendo, and the same sort of goes for Fumikomi. Unless you've got some sort of physical impediment as to why you can't do it, and it's not just that you're finding it too difficult, then yeah, it's generally required. And it's better to. You'll definitely make more dynamic attacks once you're able to do that. So how can you develop how to do it? You want to go onto the Kendo show and type in the search bar Fumikomi on YouTube. And in fact, if you type in Fumikomi on YouTube, I'm pretty sure the top result is the video that I put out on how to improve your Fumikomi, because it is probably one of our most popular videos. So go and watch that, because there's loads of great tips there of how you can kind of develop your Fumikomi. Next one. Thanks for the awesome video so far. I had a question relating to issues with my footwork for Kendo Rants. I've a foot condition of bunions and fallen arches or flat feet, so I find most of the basic footwork somewhat difficult after 10 minutes. I had to give up things like football and rugby because of this. I'm trying to practice it at home to build muscle memory and calluses, but do you think that this will be any hindrance in my future Kendo? I'll be honest with you. I can't really answer that because I'm just not qualified. I don't experience any of those problems myself, so it's not something that I'm able to properly answer. You need to seek sort of medical advice on that, as to whether that's going to affect your Kendo. And if it is, then you need to talk to your teacher, who will then obviously, I expect, work with you as to how you can overcome those problems and still be able to enjoy Kendo with everybody else. But yeah, I don't think that it's a, I mean, I can't say as to how serious it is or how much it would kind of hinder your future Kendo, but I'd say that there's still ways that you'll be able to practice. So keep it up. Next one. Hi Andy, I love your show. Thank you. And my new kote and men from KendoStar. I'm not sure if this was discussed before, but we're all told to wash our gi and hakama in cold water without soap. I sweat a lot, and I'm not sure if this would be enough. I have a 4-year-old 10,000 thread cotton hakama that I love, and I've been washing with soap and water in my washer and dryer. The back plate is worn out, but other than that, the colour is still nice. I have a new set that I'm keeping for testing. I only washed it once in cold water. It's still leaking lots of blue. My question is, how many people really wash by hand in cold water, only their Kendo uniform? Is the first soaking key, and after you can switch to a regular wash? I never ever wash my cotton Izome, the ones that are dyed with Izome. I never wash them in a washing machine. It's not good for them. Yeah, it will damage the koshita, the plate at the back, and it will fade the color. It's definitely better to wash them by hand in cold water. Having said that, you don't have to do that every time you practice. Now, it sounds really gross. Probably is a bit gross, but it's kind of a fact of how it is. Part of the reason that it's dyed with Izome is that Izome is there to it's kind of got antibacterial agents and deodorant agents in it, apparently. So when I wear a cotton hakama or kendogi that's dyed with Izome, after my practice, I take it out, I bring it home, and I hang it up and air it out to completely dry before folding it all back up again nice and neatly. And that's all I do with it. Okay. After I've done that several times, then I'll give it a wash in a bucket with just cold, clean water, no soap. Okay. That's all I do. And the reason for that is, like I say, yeah, I mean, I don't want it to get damaged. I don't want it to fade. But also, I don't actually wear, and this is a really great thing to take into consideration, I don't wear that sort of uniform for my kind of heavy duty practice. If I know if I'm a regular practice at the dojo, I generally wear something like our Gaia uniform set, something that's synthetic, basically. Check out the Gaia, by the way, on KendoStar.com. Awesome Kendo gi and hakama. It's totally synthetic, but it looks awesome. So it looks obviously like a traditional Kendo gi from afar, but it's very lightweight. But it's synthetic, so it does go in the washing machine. Straight after practice, with no problems at all. It's not going to fade. And yeah, it's the good thing about the Gaia hakama as well. The way the pleats are stitched, you don't lose the pleats out of them either. So yeah, it's a double win, really. So yeah, when I'm going to do a sort of really intense practice where I'm going to be sweating a lot, then yeah, I'll pretty much always go for a synthetic uniform that I know I can wash easily, and then I keep my cotton stuff for my kind of special occasions or my special practices, or where I'm going to be, not probably going to be practicing as intensely as I would just doing loads of kirikashi and uchikomi or something like that. So yeah, I bear that in mind as well. Okay, next one. So I started a beginner kendo class last month and I'm really enjoying it. Starting to think about future gear purchases, and I was looking at Shinai on KendoStar. Thank you very much. It looks like you sell them in lots of 3, and I was wondering if it'd be possible to get a lot of 3 that include one oval grip, one hex grip and one of the heavy handle light tip types, since I'd like to try them out without buying 3 of each. Okay, so that's a really great idea, actually. I think that's something we'll probably introduce onto KendoStar at some point, like a taster pack, where instead of 3 of the same shinai, you get 3 different shinai. Let me know in the comments down below if that's something you'd be interested in, and if so, what kind of shinai would you like to see in such a pack? Now, I can see it coming already. You're going to hit me up with questions like, can we just buy single shinai? It doesn't work like that with us at KendoStar, I'm afraid. It's very difficult for us to supply single shinai because of the way, not just the way our stock works, but the way we offer free shipping on everything. It's just not logistically possible for us to offer you single shinai. It just doesn't work, all right? So no, we can't do that, but we can offer them in packs of 3. And if you do want to see a pack with different types in, then do let me know down below. But in terms of your situation in regards to the comment, I think some people have also commented on this, because this is a question from the early access group, by the way, the Kendo Show early access group. If you're not in the group, get in the group. There's a link in the description. I say this in every video. All right. So if this is the first time you're watching it, then maybe you'll need to click it. But if you've seen this before, you should already be in the group. Okay. So yeah. In reference to your actual question, if you just started a beginner's course last month, then I wouldn't start dabbling with different shinai just yet. I think other people have already mentioned this. If you want to get yourself some more shinai, pick up a set of our all-purpose ones or something like that. They'll be perfectly fine for you, like well into your sort of practice, to be honest. You don't want to start messing around with ones with light tips and stuff like that, because it'll just... 2 things will happen. One, you might kind of start swinging it funny because the tip's really light. That does actually happen. But 2, some of them, if you don't use them in the right way, they're easier to break, particularly ones with thinner tips. So what you're better off doing is wait until you've got a little bit better technique and a little bit better understanding of how to kind of feel for the balance of a shinai. And then start looking at different types. But for now, if you want to get yourself some new ones, then yeah, have a look at the KendoStar all-purpose ones, because they're really, really good. They're well balanced and they're good for all uses. Okay, next one. I have a kohai that just started Kendo, and instead of Kihon, he's already asking about tsuki and applications of waza. More like what questions if he does that, why can't I? If he does that, why can't I do this sort of thing? And that's what I understand. And wants to focus on Jordan and Nito. I believe he's looking way too far ahead and should focus on his Kihon for his upcoming test. I'm having a hard time approaching this situation. He has done Kendo for about 3 to 4 months now. He isn't in Boga, and his all waza and kirikaishi isn't really developed yet. Once he asked me to teach him a waza, and I denied him because I felt that if he's focused on other things instead of his Kihon, maybe too much anime and video games. Either way, any insight will help. Okay, yeah, I mean, of course, occasionally you get this, and it's natural for someone that's just started up in Kendo, if they're really enthusiastic, really into it, and they see the more kind of unusual aspects of Kendo, stuff like Jordan, Nito, they see some of the more kind of advanced waza. Of course, they're interested in it. Of course, they want to know more about it, which is fine. But the way to deal with that, if you've got someone that's, I mean, if someone come up to me that had just started Kendo maybe 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and it's like, oh, Andy, can you teach me how to do Jordan? I mean, I'd just be saying, well, no, not yet. I don't think so. Let's get it. I tell you what, when you can do kirikaishi with Fumikomi, with Kikentai no Ichi, and make the Yuko Datotsu, then we'll talk about Jordan. It's probably how I'd kind of approach that. And once I'm happy that you've got that sort of a grasp of that, then we can talk about the more advanced stuff. But until then, let's just hold your horses. And I think it's okay to be a little bit frank like that. You don't have to be rude, of course. You say, no, well, let's just hang on a minute. You haven't quite got the grips of this. Once you've got the grips of that, we'll move on to this. And if they're saying like, well, you know, and I get this a lot. I do get this a lot. Well, if he does this, why can't I do this sort of thing? Frankly, I answer the questions honestly. If somebody says to me, well, if he does this, why can't I just do that? There's always an answer. There is always an answer, all right? And if you don't know the answer, then ask your teacher is a good way. You know, it's hard to say without an example of the question that the person's coming at you with, but it's very rare that there should be an answer. So, well, I don't know why, we just do it that way. Actually, we don't have to approach it in that way. There is a reason for most of it. So it's just the difficulty is that the person asking the question doesn't understand the concept of yuko datotsu, and that's what we're challenging for in Kendo. So the answer is sometimes because if we don't do it in that way, we'll be unable to achieve yuko datotsu, a valid strike, which for somebody that doesn't understand that concept yet is obviously difficult for them to understand. But that's obviously part of the learning process as well. So yeah, I hope that sort of makes sense too. Right, last one. This is a great one. It says, at the EKF refereeing seminar this year, which is the European Kendo Federation seminar, by the way. It was just the other week in Belgium. I'm really envious of everybody that went there. Which took place last week. The Japanese senseis who came, Makita sensei, Kasamura sensei, Eiga sensei. Okay, so that's the Eiga sensei, the famous one. And I don't know Makita sensei that well, actually. I know of him, though. I believe he's the sensei from the International Budo University. And Kasamura sensei is, I do know him, actually. He's excellent sensei from Kanagawa. Mentioned that the ZNKR is looking to introduce specifications and regulations for Borgu in terms of size, futon length, etc. As KendoStar have produced many different styles of Borgu, many different styles of Borgu, do you think that the regulations that are to be brought in may affect or compromise the lightness and specifications of such Borgu, and especially Shiai-orientated Borgu? So actually, to kind of rephrase the question, because I did edit it a little bit, because you mentioned some words in here that I can't really say on here. It's not I can't say, I don't want to say. But so it says as KendoStar and some other companies, all right? Some other companies. I'm not going to read the names out on here. Have produced many styles of Borgu, many lightweight ones for Shiai. Okay, so we don't really do many lightweight ones for Shiai. We've got a couple. We've got the Isamu, we've got the Victory, but we still keep enough protection in there, so they ain't going to be affected by this. But yeah, there are other companies that do make really lightweight ones that are super Shiai orientated. Okay, so right, let me address this properly because it's a really interesting topic. So yeah, the ZNKR from about a year and a half ago started to test out some new rules for the equipment, the Kendo equipment. I did make a video about it a while ago when they first started talking about it. When they first started to sort of announce it, it was less than a year and a half ago. It's probably like a year ago. Anyway, the things like they're changing how they want to measure the thickness of the tip of the shinai, and it's because they don't want people to use shinai that are too thin at the tip and don't have spaces between the slats. They don't want to have people with mendare that are too short or kote that are far too short, because this is a particular problem in Japan rather than outside of Japan. It's not aimed at people outside of Japan at this stage. Because there are some, especially at the kind of junior high and high school level, competitions in Japan where some of these kids have got mendare that are really short like this. They're not protecting their shoulders. So obviously it's dangerous, because that's what the mendare are there for. They're there to protect your body, they protect your shoulders, and they're not doing that when they're this short. Same for the kote. What they were doing was they're making them really super short so that the datotsubu, of the Borgu was much harder for the opponent to hit. So they've come in with some new sort of ideas of how they're going to tackle this. Yeah, and one of the things is, again, because a lot of these Japanese Borgu sets, especially ones that are targeted for those sort of junior high school level people, are extremely thin, kind of the futon on them. They're not protective at all because they're kind of jisengata Borgu sets. So they're not supposed to be used for practice. They're only supposed to be used for Shiai. Only for Shiai. And even if you get hit, it hurts. But they kind of accept that because they want it to be as light as they possibly can, but it's not properly protective. So the Federation have decided they want to kind of, be a little bit stricter on that to make sure that Borgu is properly protective. Now, right now, the way they've outlined the rules, that it's not... it's still at the stage where they're just giving out. They're just talking about really giving out warnings, with the exception of the shinai. If the shinai isn't thick enough at the tip, or if there's spaces between the bamboo slats, if you can see through the bamboo slats, then they'll just fail that at the shinai check. But the futon and stuff like that, if it's too short and if it's too thin, then they're just giving warnings and say, look, next time you need to get a different type of borger that properly protects you. And they do want rid of it. They don't want these sort of really lightweight, that sort of paper thin borger sets. And it's something I've seen coming for a while, because they were getting it more and more extreme. They really were getting to the point where they're just not protective at all. They're just there almost just to look like you're wearing the borger. And they are quite dangerous, especially as a lot of these kids would just then, because they're so comfortable, they're then taking them into the dojo and using them at practice and then doing loads of uchikomi. It's not good. It's not good. So yeah, I think that's something that we'll see kind of reduced in the future potentially. It isn't going to affect KendoStar absolutely in any way whatsoever. We already make the borger with really lightweight materials, modern materials, and they are already pretty much lightweight. I wouldn't say that any of our borger sets are heavy. Yeah, I'm sure if you compared them to some of the super Jissengata ones out there that are like I've just been talking about, yeah, they might be a few grams heavier, but you aren't gonna suffer any sort of injuries whilst using them, and you aren't gonna have to worry about the ZNKR turning around to you and saying that you're not allowed to use them in the Shiai. Now, of course, ZNKR only govern Kendo in Japan. ZNKR, by the way, is the Zen Nippon Kendo Renmei, is the All Japan Kendo Federation. But I mean, whatever happens in the ZNKR is going to move into the FIK, the International Kendo Federation. So it is potentially something that will affect everybody at some point. But like I say, if you buy your Kendo stuff at KendoStar, then it ain't going to affect you at all. Because like I say, I've known about this coming for a while, and we've made sure that we're on the right side of it. Because at the end of the day, as I've always said, KendoStar is about providing borger that's not only comfortable, it is lightweight. It's not super lightweight like some of these non-protective ones, but it's still very lightweight. It's comfortable, and most importantly, it's protective, because that's what the borger is there for at the end of the day. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Let me know what you'd like me to rant about next time. That's what the comment section down below is for. Get in the Kendo Show Early Access group. Come on, you should be in it by now. There's a link in the description. Make sure you get over there. I've already talked about KendoStar already. KendoStar.com is the company that I run. It's obviously what allows me to put these videos out. But not only that, it's amazing Kendo gear shipped all over the world for free. Free shipping, that is. You don't get the gear for free, I'm afraid. But you get free shipping on everything wherever you are in the world. It's awesome gear. It's particularly designed for the international community. We're not like a Japanese company that's only focused particularly on pleasing our Japanese customers, which are mainly, like I said, junior high school or high school students, just want to win Shiai. We're really focused on improving the ability of people to get good quality protective Kendo gear all over the world. So with that being said, the one thing I do want to introduce, I'm going to do this as a bit of an extended plug, but check out the new uniforms we've got on there. This is the new Kyoi Kendogi. It's well good. It's got this kirarizashi stitching. I don't know if you can even see that on the camera. I'm going to bring it over nice and close. It looks kind of cool. This kind of weave, they say it helps sort of wick sweat as well. You'd have to try it to really see if that works. But I think it looks cool. It's been a popular style of stitching kendogi for a while. But it's nice and lightweight. It's 100% cotton, and it's genuine indigo dye, so it's a really beautiful colour. It's a really great kendogi if you want something that's lightweight. It's not going to be really super heavy on you. Still going to be comfortable, but has that sort of traditional look. So we've got the Gaia uniform. I talked about the Gaia uniform. That's really great for practice because you can chuck it in the washing machine and everything. But if you don't want a synthetic kendogi, if you want a more traditional cotton kendogi with the aizome, then definitely check out this Kyoi Kendogi. It's absolutely awesome, and we've got it on sale because we just relaunched our whole uniform lineup. So check out the Kyoi uniform set. You get this, you get an awesome hakama as well, and it's like half price. So yeah, go and look at that. So that's enough of the sales pitch. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you all next time.